Hey everyone, it is Damo here and welcome to today's episode of the podcast. Now, we're going to be covering an amazing topic today. So if you are someone who's training for your first HYROX, someone you've done a couple now, you want a PB, you want to go to that next level, or if you're someone at the top of your game, this skill that we're going to talk about in depth today is going to help absolutely anyone improve in their HYROX. And it is a principle and it's a skill that is the backbone of everything that we do with our athletes, in our program, and truly how we get results with people. So today I am going to be talking about pacing. I'm going to be talking everything about it, what it is, how to apply it, how to put it into your workouts, what is good pacing, what is bad pacing, and then most importantly, how do we take all of that pacing that we do in our training and how does it apply to race day? This is truly the skill that separates, the amateurs from the elites. This is something that even, when I work with a lot of people who are beginners or first timers, like we know one of the biggest problems is, everyone's just doing their best. They're starting their journey. They're doing random things. They're training at gyms. But once we can get them to understand pacing and apply it better in their workouts, it really will take you to the next level. You are someone right now that you can apply this into your gym workouts. So even if you're going to a gym studio and you're just doing group classes, you can still apply this principle. You can apply it anywhere in your strength training sessions, in your running. It is not for specific workouts. It is a understanding and a mindset of how to approach work. And once you understand how to pace work, how to create the right intention in doing training sessions, racing, then you will understand why you are failing potentially to make progress, or why all of that hard work just doesn't seem to really go anywhere. Why your race results are only slightly improving. And it most likely has to do around understanding pacing. It is a big subject, hence why this whole episode today is on pacing. And what really sparked it is I've had some really great quality questions being asked to me from our clients on our Hybrid Heroes app who train with us. And, they've been asking a lot of questions and I'm like, these are great questions. Obviously I'm answering them with everyone, but I'm like, I got to, do a podcast on this. So here we are today. So guys, buckle in. It's going to be a great episode and I guarantee you will be a better athlete by the end of this podcast. Your understanding is going to level up. So let's go. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to cover everything. So let's start right at the start. Why is pacing important? Because again, a lot of athletes, they don't fail because they're unfit. They fail because they just don't understand what pace truly is and how to pace. HYROX isn't just a fitness test. It's about how do you display that fitness? Because I know lots of people that are physically amazing, but with the wrong strategy, like, you could imagine just going out way too fast on the first run. Doesn't matter how fit you are. If you blow up, if you cook yourself early, it's not going to end in the best result. So even the best, even the fittest need to understand how to control themselves. So it's your ability to manage output, energy, and sustain performance. And if we look at HYROX, for the majority of us, we are out there for 60 to 100 minutes. So understanding how to pace ourselves over that time to get the fastest result is very important. Because as just spoke about, we don't win HYROX in the first kilometer. We definitely don't win it on the sled, but you win it by staying in control when others fall apart. And this is what I'm really excited to share with you today, because again, when I work with people, and especially people I work one-on-one with, we really hone in on this. Like to any of my clients who do work one-on-one with me, if you're listening to this, you'll understand I drill this in all the time because it's the only thing that we're looking for is pacing and repeatability, which I'm going to cover more in this episode. So on another side note, I really hope a lot of people who are on our training app and on our programs too really listen to this, because again, we supply obviously programs to lots of people. You can just subscribe, get our programs, but it's understanding this which really will again unlock like the true performance out of everything. And again, you don't need to be on our training program, it can be on anyone's training program. And this is truly what every great coach would love to see with their clients. So this isn't like something that is will go against your current gym or coach, like every great coach, if you talk to him, hey, I listened to Damo and he told me about pacing and I'm going to be repeatable and I need to do this, your coach is going to be like, incredible. So it's going to be a really great skill to hone in. Okay, so let's define what pacing is. So pacing is the conscious regulation of effort to sustain performance across given time or task. Okay, so basically your ability to control yourself. So you control your output, control your energy distribution, control your emotion as well. Because why does someone go out, I've said the first station, why does someone go out way too fast in the first station? Is it because it's their logical strategy? 99% of the time, it's not. It's emotion, like they're fired up, they're G'd up. So that just throws pacing out the window. So that's why we've got to practice pacing. And then obviously, so we can apply strategic intensity, So again, in simple terms, pacing is choosing not to go as hard as you can so you can go as hard as you need to later. Okay, that's really important. So, from a physiological point of view, this is going to help various things. Okay, throw some big words out there. Lactic accumulation, aerobic dominance, heart rate drift, CNS fatigue, muscular endurance failure. There's all these physical side effects that happen from people who don't know how to pace as well. So it's not just, I went too hard. It's like there's a lot of physiology that's going on in the body when we don't know how to regulate our pacing properly, hence why it becomes really hard. So when we look at the sport of HYROX, HYROX, like we punish like early run redlining. Like again, if you go out too hard in this race, like there's very few people that can hang on for the rest of the race. People who are racing based on their egos, again, emotion, these people, like they not only don't have the best results or as good as results as they can, but also they don't stay in the sport for long because their approach is always just so hard. Like they don't know how to, because pacing, and again, we'll talk about this as we get into the podcast, pacing can be in like a session, it can be in a race, but it can also be like, how do you pace your training block? How do you pace your season? This is also really important, understanding when we zoom out how to pace as well. Okay. So why pacing in training is the real skill. And, we can talk a lot about pacing in the race. Now, the race is just the result of our training. So really understanding pacing and how to apply it in training, is the most important thing. And I'm going to talk about everything to do with it. It's going to be so good what we're going to share with you today. Because when it gets to the race, and even, again, the people that I work with and I help with their strategies, any of our members, any of the people I work one-on-one with, when it comes to race day, I don't need to say much because all of the thinking, all of the pacing, all of the data, all of the training has been done. And then we just know how to execute on race day because we know how to pace ourselves. We know how to manage ourselves, and we then know how to go out and execute as best as we can, and then just send it on the day. And when I say send it, it's hit our targets, try push a little bit harder, because race day is what we call unsustainable. Race day is the day that you want to go hard, the hardest ever. If you think of all your training, should never be as hard as actual race day. So it's about getting as accurate understanding of how to pace in training, so we know exactly where that line, that border, that red line is on race day, so we know how to just keep playing with it. Okay, so why pacing in training is a real skill. So this is where our principles come in. Now, I've had the amazing privilege to be educated from the people at OPEX Fitness. Okay, if you're a coach or a PT out there and you want to learn how to get the best education, they're not plugging me for this, by the way. You want to get the best education on how to upskill yourself as a coach, OPEX Fitness. Go check them out. It's incredible. And it's changed my life my career as a coach. And it's been the backbone of how I've been just getting amazing results. So OPEX have shined a light on just tried and tested fitness principles that have been around for a long time. But you could imagine, in this world of social media, even YouTube and education, even for the best of us, I'm talking about coaches and trainers, it gets confusing out there. But when we strip it all back, it's simple principles done really well. So you don't magically pace well on race day. You rehearse pacing every single week, and it's done through displaying these principles. So why training is the real skill? Because in training, this is where we build awareness on how to pace. It's where intensity ceilings are learned. So it's where we start to understand our limitations. It's where repeatability is tested. Repeatability, repeatability. Oh, I got to get a t-shirt with that just like repeated on it, because repeatability is everything. It's where feedback loops exist. Because again, when we are displaying pace and we're monitoring and all the rest, we are getting feedback. You know, what does this pace mean to me? Like if you're on the rower and you're going at 155, what does this mean to me 10 minutes into a workout? What does this mean to me 40 minutes into a workout? Different feedback, different experiences. So, you know, this is why we've got to understand. If we're not monitoring, if you're doing a workout and not even looking at 155, you're just going for it based on feel. Again, there's no feedback, there's no guessing, like you're just guessing. And this is, again, part of the problem. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit now. I'm going to talk about this theory because, like I mentioned, OPEX Fitness, really amazing company. I'm going to talk to you about who they are a little bit because, again, if I can educate you on the origins of this, right, it's really going to help you connect and really understand why pacing is important. Now, OPEX have a saying from the founder. Now, the founder was James Fitzgerald. He was one of the very first CrossFit Games champions back in 2007. And he went on to create OPEX Fitness and basically came up with this term that is very popular in the OPEX space and amongst all the coaches there, where it's reward the pacer. So we want to reward the person who can, you know, pace themselves, because again, James' theory on this was people who are able to pace and display repeatability were able to create better long-term adaptations that resulted into better results, right? So it avoided things like athletes going too hard, getting confused with effort and progress. A lot of athletes, you know, were chasing fatigue instead of adaptation. Like how many people out there, we correlate, you know, how fatigued we are, like how hard we feel like we've worked throughout the week, you know, just wanting to feel exhausted almost as a sign that like we are making progress. Because burning out, fatiguing, you know, pushing your body so hard all the time does not equal progress, does not equal adaptation. So learning how to pace and regulate yourself and, you know, reward the pacer really means that we can govern ourselves a little bit to pull it back just a little bit so we're actually in the sweet spot of adaptation. So, you know, this coaching principle, again, really shined a light on, you know, sustainable adaptation beats emotional intensity. Like how many of us, again, you get into a group environment and you just want to go for it. And don't get me wrong, at times do that, and that is totally fine. But long term, if you can't regulate this a little bit, this is the reason why you could not be getting the results, or you're plateaued, or you're just feeling tired all the time, lethargic, so many other things. So progress truly comes from repeatable outputs. Just think of like food, you know, like if you're just eating consistently the same food all the time, you're going to get a consistent result. If you're just eating a ton, then not eating nothing, and eating a ton, it's like the result is going to be so varied. Just like training, you can't just like smash training and then get burnt out or injured and then stop and then start again. It just does not work this way. The body is not going to make great progress, great adaptation if there is not repeatable outputs. Okay, so the body adapts best when stress, okay, because that's all it is. All this training is just adding stress, is appropriately dosed. Okay, keyword, it's got to be appropriate, the right amount. Okay, it's like adding salt onto your food. There's the right amount. It's delicious. If you just put too much on it, you ruin the meal. Okay, so the idea is simple but powerful. The athlete who can control output and repeat it consistently will outperform the athlete who wins the first round. Okay, now this is something like, if you've ever trained with me, if you want to come train with me, come visit, send me a message. But I love training for a lot of people. Like I've done this for a long time now. And most people, and I've done this multiple HYROX workouts, you know, we're training and we start, and, you know, 3 or 4 of them, you know, they're in front of me. Let's just put it this way. And I'm just like, no worries. I'm monitoring my pacing, I'm monitoring my effort, and I know how far in front they are. But I'm also seeing like how their strategies, their consistency in what they're doing. Are they like methodical in what they're doing, or are they just going for it? And I can tell straight away who's going and executing a plan and who's not. And then I be patient. I don't try to rush, but then I start reeling them in, and before you know it, I'm just still steady pace. They're slowing down, and then you pass them. And I'm sure there's so many out there that can relate to it. And maybe you're that person that goes out too hard, and you're wondering why they all just fly past you towards the end of the workout. Maybe you're doing a long workout, could be a short workout, but it's got to do with this. So again, these workouts in training, especially in training, we should not be rewarding the person who even wins a workout. Even me saying, you know, if I passed them or whatever, that's not actually the reward. The thing you should be proud of, the thing that should be proud of is I repeated round after round. I kept a very high pace that I sustained, and that, you know, e.g. produced a better result. That's the person you should reward. Just like when we have even like new people that we train with, if they're training with us or clients I'm training, if they do a workout, I don't care if they're 5 minutes slower. I don't care how far behind they are. If they displayed repeatability and, you know, they controlled themselves, they didn't get injured, they had a great workout, I'm like, that is the signs that you are going to make progress. And next week they come back and they make a little bit of progress. And then next week they make a little bit of progress. And it just keeps going. Then before you know it, that person is, you know, has improved their fitness. I can't say I've seen too many people who have just gone out way too hard, random intensities, and truly just made long-term sustainable progress. I haven't seen it. I've seen a ton of these people burn out. I've seen a ton of these people get to race day, like niggles, slight injured, like, you know, their calves are tight, something's wrong. And then when they finish HYROX, it's like a relief, because they've just like been hanging on for dear life, because again, they're just training so intense all the time. Body's inflamed, cortisol's high, you know, just the stress and the pressure's high. And again, it was because they don't understand pacing. All right, I really hope this is starting to hit home a little bit too. I know there's going to be some key points here. And you might be nailing this. This just might be affirming everything you're doing as well, which is really amazing. Okay, so when we look at this principle as well, what does it connect to just beyond just sort of like, yeah, okay, be repeatable, get the same times? It really connects to energy systems. So we start to learn and train our energy systems better. We start to understand how to design workouts better for people. So even yourself, when you start to understand your pace and what you're capable of, you know, you can better adjust your workouts. Maybe you need to take a bit of volume out. Maybe you need to add a bit of volume in. You know, this is where, you know, understanding where you are accurately will allow you to create better design. It will then allow you in that design to understand how to create progressive overload. Now, progressive overload, what is that? It's what we do to, you know, get stronger. It's what we do to get fitter. So it means like, you know, if you can lift 100 kilos, example, you know, then we want to put 110 kilos on. You know, we put a little bit more loading on, or 105 kilos, doesn't have to be that big of a jump, but that's a progressive overload. Now the body's stressed beyond what it is capable of, and then it will adapt, right? So if you're not tracking anything, and 1 week you did 80 kilos, you didn't even really know, next week you do 120, it's like you're not going to get stronger that way because it's too much loading. Like, it's like, think of your squat right now and add an extra 50 kilos onto it next week. Like, theoretically, if it's like just adding more weight makes you stronger, well, that should make you really strong really quick. It doesn't work that way. You need the right amount of extra loading each week. So loading or intensity can come from adding more weight, so making things heavier, or moving it faster, or a mixture of both. Okay, so, you know, progressive overload could look like 10 more minutes onto your zone 2 run, an extra interval. These are all ways of progressive overload. Okay, so that's how it fits. Like, yeah, I'm really excited to share all this with you guys. Really excited. Okay, so why it matters in HYROX. Okay, let's have a look into HYROX again. It's like a long format race. It's 60 minutes, 90 minutes out there for a lot of people. So, if people are going out with early aggression, this can equal late collapse. People are spiking their heart rate way too much, then this is going to compromise, compromise running is a term, but it's also like compromise like stations. Like if you come into like a sled or your burpees completely gassed from the run, like you're doing compromised burpees. Like you're cooked. You're not jumping properly, not landing properly, all the things. Yeah, I'm going to create a reel, see if that kicks off. Emotional pacing, equals inconsistent splits. Again, if you're going out there just getting fired up, I think there's the right time. I call it like, you got to pull the trigger at the right time, but not too early. Again, it's a long race. It is a long race. Like it's not a triathlon. You're not out there for 9 hours, but it's not like a CrossFit, like 12-minute workout. So it is, it's definitely endurance. It would be in the endurance bracket. Okay. So, what HYROX really does reward, okay, is calm athletes, because the calmer you are means the more controlled you are. So if you're a more controlled athlete, and if you ever wondered, sometimes some of the best out there look relaxed. If you want to talk about relaxed, if you watch Joanna Whitrick clean up in Phoenix, talk about relaxed, okay? Now this is someone who knows their pace. This is someone who knows how to go out and execute. And this is someone that has a game plan and someone who has trained it and has trained it so much and so well that she is so confident and she looks relaxed. The question is looked. Like the key thing is looked. Doesn't mean she's not stressed, doesn't have pressure. She's got a ton of pressure on her, but she was able to go out there and just do her thing. And that's why it looks that way. So, these people here, they're the dangerous athletes. Okay. And that's the thing, I always like to say with people in training and all the rest, it's the ones who are quiet. It's the ones who have who are being consistent, are being repeatable. They're the ones that are like going to continue to slowly make progress. And before you know it, you just see them and they're just getting amazing times. And you're like, where'd this come from? And it was because they always had a plan in mind. They always knew what they were working towards. So again, you got to ask yourself, am I working and building towards something? Or am I literally just going out, just trying to go as hard as I can, just do, the best in every session? Because there's a difference between doing the best and executing the best. So, if I had to go out and just do physically the best that I could every single workout and go 100%, I wouldn't be making progress in training. I'd be burning out very, very quickly. And the fitter you are, the harder you go, the more of a toll it puts on your body too. So it's something we've got to really manage. It doesn't matter who you are, beginner or a more advanced athlete. Okay, so the athlete who controls their output more long time, again, he's going to avoid things like blowing up, missing their targets, fading dramatically. Okay, so these are all things that, is important with being this person who can pace. Okay. So let's go on to the next bit now. They've got lots of notes here. I'm like trying not to over talk in some of this, but let's keep this show on the road. So let's look at the term now, because now, okay, we've talked about understanding reward the pacer and pacing. We're getting a really good understanding of it. Now we're going to understand, when it comes to pacing, this idea of be repeatable, okay? Because repeatability, sits right beside pacing, okay? So if reward the pacer is the mindset, being repeatable is the performance standard, okay? So that's such a good way to look at it. Again, pacing is the mindset, repeatability is the performance, okay? So again, this concept was developed inside of a framework, again, shared with OPEX Fitness. And where it really came from is, as James from OPEX explained in his, basically in his course in his early career as a competitor to coach, he started to analyze, thousands of training sessions. And what he noticed, and this is like, again, what I've noticed as well. So again, it's just really valuable insights, is what he started to notice was the best long-term performers, like they didn't win all the workouts. They didn't dominate one round, and they didn't post like the flashiest time or splits. They produced consistent outputs, and I mentioned this before, across multiple efforts. And that's what actually translates to race day. So again, I'm going to say that again because we're talking training here, okay? Because we're talking about how do we get ready for race day, okay? So the best long-term performers didn't win all the workouts. They didn't dominate one round. They didn't post the flashiest times, but they produced consistent outputs across multiple efforts. So you really have to understand this because you might have even come across some great athletes, some people that got even really, really fast HYROX times. But in training, they just don't seem as potentially impressive. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're like, wow, they're just impressive in every way. But sometimes they're like, you know what? Like, they're not actually that fast. I think I can keep up with them. And, you know, we size up to them, but we're sizing up to them in like one situation. Because when race day comes again, they're building. These people are always building to something. And this is what I want to share with you again. Again, make sure that you're not just trying to win something. Like if you're 12 weeks out from your HYROX, if you're literally week 12 away, it's like the goal is not to go and just crush the next workout. The goal is to establish repeatable efforts that then you can improve on week to week. Now, let's talk about that a little bit, break it down. And I'm going to go into some key examples because we want to show repeatability in our running. We want to show repeatability in our strength training. We want to show repeatability in our HYROX sessions. There is so much to work on. So, and then we want to show repeatability week after week after week. So it's crazy, all right? So huge concept here, huge concept. So again, being repeatable, it isn't about being slow. And this is what we've got to understand too. It's not about being slow. It's about being controlled enough that your output stays stable. Okay, so if we look at a workout, let's just say like a run split for, let's call it like a kilometer. Now, if you do kilometer 1 at 350 and it's really hard, you have a rest, and then second effort, it's 440 because you blew up. And then the third effort's 520. Okay, that's not a conditioning issue. It's a pacing and regulation issue. And you know what repeatability should look like is instead of going for 350, where we've now taxed ourselves, repeatability should be like you did the first one at like, 405. And then the second one was at 407. And then the third one was at like 406. Okay, so again, just taking this, like the example very, broad, but it's like understanding the idea of repeatability. So you had to slow it down a little bit, but you were then able to repeat a much higher pace across 3 sets because you didn't overtax yourself on the first one, okay? So the athlete that understands this and understands how to create this output, again, is going to make better progress, get better results. So, the logic of repeatability as well, from a physiological point of view, is proper pacing will help again with control. It's going to help then regulate your nervous system. It's going to help reinforce stronger and more efficient mechanics. It's going to make you understand how to use, again, energy systems and fuel better. Right? And it's actually going to allow your aerobic base to build nice and strong as well, instead of always switching into anaerobic versus aerobic. So when you're repeatable, your heart rate doesn't spike dramatically, breathing stays in rhythm, movement quality stays intact, and power output doesn't nosedive. Okay, these are really important things here. So fitness is the ability to maintain output, not just produce it once. And again, if we're looking at HYROX, again, 8 runs, 8 stations, you got to repeat your output. You got to repeat your runs. Like I've said it since day one, since the very first moment I saw HYROX, I remember I'm like, this is all just about pace. So what I'm reading through with you right now and what I'm talking to you is a lot of my studies from OPEX. Now I did this years ago. And why I say that is because when I first saw HYROX, I was like, I'm going to be really good at this sport and I'm going to coach people. Like this is going to be an area of my expertise because I understand pacing. I remember it was like one of the very first things I said to myself. And, like 3 years later, here we are. And, we've built a company that literally helps people all around the world with HYROX. And we've been getting amazing results with people because of, again, these principles and understandings and how to apply it. So again, you're like right now, if you're still listening here, like you are now more equipped to understand, again, this thing that's going to change your whole HYROX, like results and game and career. It's incredible. So, all right, let's continue. Now, I'm going to talk through some really practical scenarios. Okay, now there's a million scenarios I can. So really just look for the concept of what I'm trying to share with you now and how to apply it, because I really want you to go, okay, now I start to understand it, but can you walk me through what it would actually look like? I hear you, and let's do it. Okay, so example number 1, let's just say a tempo run. Okay, so you got 4 1-kilometer efforts. Okay, so we're just keeping it really simple. You got to go, so example, when we're pacing this, okay, what not to do. So kilometer 1, you go out at 3 minutes 30, okay? And then kilometer 2, you can't sustain it, so now you're at 3 minutes 50. Kilometer 3, your third tempo, you can't sustain it, you go to 420. What's going to happen in kilometer 4? Now you're at 440, let's call it. So we need to slow it down. We start at 3:30. So we've got to take that data on board. And that's okay sometimes. It's okay to have a session like that where you blow up, because now it's data to understand, okay, I got to pace this better on the next one. So next time, a week's gone by, you got your tempo session again, same workout. So now you're going to take that data and you go, okay, I'm going to go out now today at 4 minutes. Okay, just a flat 4 minutes. Have your little rest, come back, kilometer 2, you get 4 minutes again. Kilometer 3, 4:01. Kilometer 4, did I say 3:01? 4:01. And then kilometer 4, 4:01. Again, bang, bang, bang. Now, because you've slowed it down and because you were so consistent at pretty much nailing it, what does that say? It means that it wasn't a massive stretch. You were very consistent. So that would give us great indication and data to say, you know what, next week, if we would do the same workout, now that we know how to pace and we showed repeatability, we can now confidently move this to like a 355, maybe a 350. How do we know what's right or wrong? Well, let's do the workout again. But to say, let's go 330 again or 340, it's probably a stretch. So now next week you do 355, boom, 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 all the way through 355s. Gives you the confidence to go to 350. Now you're doing 350. It might be 350 pace, 350 pace, maybe then 355, 358. Okay, I found my limit. Now, if you are in the US and you run with miles, that's going to be like, these guys are sprinting. So this is kilometers per hour, which, yeah, I can't even convert it into miles. I'll leave that one up to you to do. So that's a real simple example of how to apply pacing into like your tempo run, okay? Now the goal is always, if we see a significant drop off, so I would say if we go from, let's call it that 350 pace, and we start going at 4 minutes, 4:10, like 20 seconds, it's a significant drop off. It means pacing was too quick. If we are like 3 to 5 seconds within of each round, okay, that's pretty good. So again, from the starting point, so 350, then it was a 353, 355, 352, like that's great pacing. That's really great pacing. A zone 2 run, another type of run, really simple. Just if you're running at 5:30 pace, just keep it 5:30 pace all the way through, right? That is just a real simple way to understand pace. And I feel like zone 2 running or long runs, it's natural for us to understand pace. Oh, I did my run at 5 minutes on average. We don't necessarily go, I'm going to go for a 50-minute jog today and I'm going to sprint my first kilometer and see if I can hang on to it. We go, I'm just going to settle into a pace. So we do understand this. We just don't apply it to everything. Okay, let's talk about HYROX session, because this to me is the game changer. And obviously this is the biggest transfer over to HYROX race. So now let's look at a workout. Okay, now again, I'm just going to sort of put some workout together. It's not highly accurate as far as the times, but concepts. We're learning how to apply pacing. Okay, so you have 3 rounds of 12-minute HYROX, like AMRAP. Okay, so the work you got to complete is a 1 kilometer run, 500 meter ski, and 20 burpees. Okay, so you got a 12-minute AMRAP. You're just going from run to ski to burpees all the way through. So what we want to display here is again, pacing and repeatability. So some people would approach this workout and they would go, oh, I'm feeling good on the first run. And they're running the first kilometer at like 4-minute pace. Then they go into the ski, they're going like 150 pace, burpees, smashing it. Then they got to go back into round number 2, in that 12 minutes. So we're not even at like the third round or anything. Now the run's slowing down, the ski, they can't hold what they did in the first round. Why? Because the first round you're fresh as hell. So, but this is where some of the problem is. We got to understand that when we're super fresh, that's when we have to regulate ourselves the most. So we have to slow it down. We have to go, I've got not only 12 minutes of work ahead of me right now, but I got 3 rounds of this to do. Like I got to slow this down because you got to think with the end in mind. After doing this, like this is 24, this is 36-minute workout. When I get to minute 30, like what's that pace? Can I sustain that? So that's what we also call like aerobic, right? Because if you're going at a pace you can't sustain, technically you're going into anaerobic, like you're going into your lactic acid system. It's when oxygen doesn't supply the movement. So like when you sprint, you use stored energy. When you're aerobic, or you can, let's just call it continue to move, that's aerobic, like, running at a zone 2, it's fed by oxygen. So that's why you gotta understand, what's that pace? What's that fastest, like aerobic pace I can sustain on a long workout? Now, if this was like a, 3 rounds of, 5 minutes, well then, yeah, you're gonna push a lot harder. But when we're going for long distance, we have to learn how to pace. So one thing that I look at when looking at a session like this, and this is what I'm going to walk you through, just so you can start to get in my mind a little bit when I go for a run. So I'm like, okay, I've got 12-minute AMRAP and I've got 3 of them to do. So 1 kilometer run. I'm like, okay, well, I know I can run like 50 minutes non-stop at like a 5-minute pace. Okay, my zone 2 run. And I know I can do intervals at 1 kilometer at around, like, let's call it, this is all example, like, at like 3:30, if I'm really pushing hard. So, okay, well, in this run, then I should be somewhere in between that, because 3:30 is like sprinting, for like a one-off effort. 5 minutes is like my long run. So I should probably be around like maybe like 4:30, because I need to be closer towards the, the long distance side. So I'm going to start at 4:30, and then, and then I got to obviously monitor that. Then I got to get onto my ski erg. Now, a lot of people, again, when they're skiing, they're not fully aware of their pace. They're just going off feel. It's like, okay, if I was to sit on this machine, like I know I've done like in the past a 20-minute, non-stop ski erg, or maybe you've done a 10-minute non-stop. And if you haven't, maybe you should just try it and go, okay, my ski pace for that is like 2-minute pace. So I've got 500 meters here, but I've got 36 minutes in front of me. Okay, I'm going to go at like a 155. I'm not going to jack it up too fast. I'm going to sit on 155. And you've got to monitor that. And then same with the burpees. Now I'm onto my burpees. Okay, am I going to just sprint there? No. It's like, I'm going to take, I'm going to take good 5 seconds to do one. And I'm just going to get into a rhythm. Because that feels fast. I'm not wasting time, but I'm controlling my effort here. Now, if I can just do that in round number 1, then I'll reanalyze. I've done my first 12-minute AMRAP. I've done, let's call it, I got through 2 and a bit rounds. And now I record that, and now I'm like, okay, how do I feel? I feel good. I got a little bit tiring towards the end, but I'm fine. Okay, I'm just going to repeat that in the second round. Boom. Okay, was able to do that. Now the third round, analyze. Okay, I'm maintaining this pace, but it's getting a bit hard now. Cool, just hang on to it. Was I able to hang on to it? Yes. Well-paced workout. But that all comes from observing everything. The run pace, the ski pace, and the pace on the burpees. Now, just to quickly, analyze that again, that workout could have easily been like, okay, at the start, did the first round, runs are already getting hard to hang on to, ski pace, I'm already dropping off, burpees, fine. So recalibrate. I got to slow to run down. I got to slow to ski down. Boom, boom. Find that pace. Then repeat it in the third round. Re-established, recalibrated. Or you might go, hey, I did 4:30. You know what? Easy. Feeling great. I could run so much faster. Cool. Bring it up a little bit. Let's go to 4:15. Ski erg, 155. No, I got 152 there. Let's bring it 152. Then could you continue it in the third round? I actually felt like in the third round, I could even go faster. Recalibrate, go faster. Beautiful. Some data now to bring into your next workout. See, now that you are understanding and equipping yourself with knowledge and understanding how you work and how your energy systems handle the work, now this is how week by week you will get faster. I really hope this all makes sense. All right, last one here I'm going to talk about is now applying, because a lot of people don't think of pacing and repeatability when it comes to strength training, okay? Because strength training, if you think of it like, 3 by 10 reps or 4 sets by 5 or whatever it is, it's like the purest form of repeatability. And the biggest mistake, and I'll just talk about this as probably the biggest mistake, or actually there's a couple points here, but the biggest mistake is I see a lot of people in a gym and, let's just say they're doing back squats. And again, you can apply this to any exercise, but let's just say back squat. You got 3 by 10 reps. Now, for whatever reason, everyone just wants to build to the third set. So, you get in the ballpark. So, let's just say your top set or your max is like for 10 is like 100 kilos. So you do 80 on the first set, 90 on the second set, 100 on the third set. That's not pacing. That's like, again, you've been putting up the weight every time. So if you've got 3 sets in a program, it should be 3 working sets, right? So you want to do 90 kilos first set, 90 kilos second set, 90 kilos on the third set. So now you've got 3 good quality working sets in, which then create a need for proper progressive overload and adaptation, which then means the next week you can display now 100 from set 1, set 2, set 3. And then the next week you can go to 105 or 110 for set 1, set 2, set 3. So again, just key concept is find repeatability. Don't just build up to heavy singles. Again, it's like doing interval runs. Like you got let's call it 4 by 1 kilometer effort, going slow to first one, a bit faster the second one, a bit faster for, and the last one sprint. It's like, that wasn't intervals. That wasn't repeatability. So again, don't approach strength any different. Now, other key factors that will change repeatability and that ability to pace is control your rest periods, adhere to tempo, okay? So tempo is the speed at which you move. So, you'll see in our programs, like a number, like it could be like 3010. Now those 4 numbers mean 3 seconds down. So the first number is the eccentric phase or the down phase where the muscle is lengthening. The second number refers to the hold at the bottom. The third number refers to the concentric phase where the muscle is shortening. So the up phase. So in a squat, now you're squatting up. And then the 4th number is the hold at the top. So making sure that is the same is a way to control, again, the pace, the output, right? So no rushing sets. And, these are really, again, super key elements when it comes to being repeatable in strength training. So you might find, again, you're not getting stronger, you're plateauing, your weight stayed stuck. And if you might not be adhering to tempo, you might not be controlling your rest periods, and you might have been doing that for a while, hence why the body just needs to actually go a little bit lighter, reestablish all of these things, and then it can start to make progress again. Again, a huge reason why, again, people, again, fail to get stronger in the gym. All right, guys, are we feeling like we understand pacing and repeatability now? We definitely should. Okay, so again, how's this now going to translate? And I spoke about how does this translate to racing? Okay, because all of this data, all of this understanding, what am I rowing on the rower? What's my pace there for 500 meters, for 1,000 meters? What am I lifting? What's my burpee speed? What's, how long does it take me to run, a kilometer? What's my compromised split times? Like all of these things that we should be observing, like how do I feel when I come off the sled push? How long does it take me before I can start my run? Oh, there's so many little data points and things to observe in training that the more we observe and the more we understand, then the more accurately we can understand how to apply it on race day. So again, if you know in your workouts, in your HYROX workouts, that you struggle to hold 500 meters at like a 150 pace on the ski, let's call it in the specific, in the HYROX style workouts you're doing. Like if you then start your first station at HYROX and you're at 150 for a kilometer, that's very, like you should look at that and go, I will not be able to sustain it. And even if I do, this is going well above my threshold right now. Why? Because I haven't really been able to prove it in training. The best I could do in a 500 meter ski was like 150. Right now I'm looking down, I see 149 on the ski. If you're even looking at it, right? A lot of athletes don't even look at it. 149, even though I feel amazing right now, again, emotion, spiked, adrenaline, this actually should be information that I should understand that I am going well above my threshold right now. And if I continue to do this early on the race, it's going to affect me big time. Again, that should just summarize again everything that we can look at. Transitions. If you're racing from solos to doubles, different paces, different intensities, you got to understand how you finish a station and then how you respond going into a run. And we can only collect all of this in training. But if we're not being aware of it in training, and I say all this because we don't have to turn into data nerds, right? And if you're a beginner going, wow, this sounds overcomplicated, it's actually really not. It's just like if we just like clear our mind for a second and just say to yourself, all I got to do in training is just start to be a little bit more aware of how I'm doing things. What's the speed? What's the pace? And it's like a language. If you just expose yourself to a language every day for an hour, over the course of a few months, you're going to start to speak that language. It's the same with this data. When you look at a ski erg, I don't know what this pace means, day one. But then after a week of being in the gym training, after 2 weeks, after 12 weeks, I really understand now what this data means. It means something to me now because I've done so many workouts. So like if I said to you right now, ski at 140 pace, like what does that say to you? Like if you know anything about the pace on the ski erg, that's really fast. So that's what we want to get to. We want to get to understand what does pacing and what does this data evoke in us? What emotion? What does it signal? What does it tell us? Right? And again, if we're not being aware of this, we're literally just going into stations and sessions blindfolded, just going off feeling. Now, what can affect feeling without ranting on this one too much? Geez, what can affect feeling? Not eating enough food, having a stressful day, having a fight with your partner, not enough sleep, having a newborn child, working 2 jobs, working no jobs, didn't have your coffee, had too much pre-workout. There's so many things. So that's why, again, data stays consistent. So again, when we translate into race day now, okay, so your race pacing plan should include, target run pacing, station intensity plan. You should start to understand where your heart rate ceiling is, being just aware of it, right? Understand transition, like the disciplines in transition. Sometimes you might be over rushing it. Just slow it down a little bit and it will serve you better long term. And then we got to understand how to avoid blowing up, blow up prevention. Okay. So that's where the data. So a good example of this was, I remember I did come onto the ski erg once. It was in doubles. So it's very intense and it's fast, but I was like at 135, and I'm just like, this is too quick. I got to slow it down. And I think I didn't slow it down by much. It's one of the earlier races. And then I had this massive stitch, I think from so much fast trunk flexion. And I've spoken to a couple of people who have got it before, but it was very abnormal. But also I never ski at that pace. And then the run, what happened to my run? It slowed down. I had to slow it down. You know what I mean? So it affected me. So again, because I just didn't, this was early on and this was someone who understood it. So again, we're not always going to be perfect. We will make mistakes, but as long as we learn from these mistakes, is going to be the biggest key here. Okay, so again, once you apply this, right? And what did I hear the other day? It's like the person who comes to the race, who's calm and confident, okay? Now you got to ask yourself, is that how you want to be on race day? Do you want to be someone who's anxious, stressed, and nervous? Or do you want to be someone who's calm and confident? Now, even if you are a calm and confident person, there's always a level of excitement and nerves there, but you're not freaking out. And this type of person is generally the one who has done the work, who has applied pacing, who has trained for it, who understands it, and is prepared for race day. Again, race day is full of unknowns. And I know I say to all my athletes, and I say to you, we got to be prepared for those unknowns. And that's the beautiful thing about race day, is training we can control. Race day, we get ready to adapt to the conditions on the day, right? And again, it's the level of preparedness, it's the level of attentiveness to all of these little things. And again, this isn't rocket science. This isn't super hard. This is really about just bringing some key awareness to this thing that we call pacing. It is incredible, guys. So, guys, I really think this is like the masterclass on pacing. And you can apply this again to your current training, to your next run session. You can apply it right away. Now, if you want help with your HYROX, okay, this is the plug now. Hybrid Heroes, we help people get ready for HYROX training. We have an app where we have all of our HYROX programs in there. We have programs for first timers. We have programs to fit busy lifestyles. So for people who can only get to the gym, let's call it for an hour a day. But I still understand that getting you ready for HYROX is super important. So we have like a 6-session plan a week, a 8-session plan a week. We have separate run programs in there, station programs. We got a lot. Now, the best way, if you want to check it out and if you want a 7-day trial to get started, where all of our programs are designed around principles like pacing we spoke about today. Once you understand everything we said today, like these programs just become 10 times even better when you understand it. So you can get a 7-day free trial. The link is in the description. Go there, get involved. You can try us out for a week. You get direct access to me as well. Please use that feature. It's so underused, where I can coach you and guide you along the way, whatever questions you have and support. Because again, programming is one thing, but having someone that can help you, keep you accountable, keep you on track, again, is the biggest difference. So go check that out. All there available for you. Regardless, guys, go be repeatable, okay? Learn how to pace and get ready for your next HYROX so you can be there on race day confident. All right, guys, appreciate you all, and I'll see you at a HYROX soon.